Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Island Church Weekly podcast. I am joined, as always, by my friend, the Reverend Dr. Will McRaney. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Matt?
Good, man. I'm good. It's off to a busy week, so always fun when that happens. So, yeah, well, hey, how was Sunday at Island Church? Give us a recap.
Well, we always enjoy to get together with our people. People filtered in and actually got to be a little bit better in terms of our just engagement, in terms of number of people. We have a lot of people traveling, and so we're down a good bit in attendance overall. But we were on a really fun kind of topic area for at least for me, thinking about our identity in Christ, because so much flows out of how we see ourselves is actually a reflection. We see this; it'll be reflected off on people. It's just so important to know who we are and whose we are. And so we really talked about this three-dimensional part of our identity. And so if you missed last week, I encourage you to go back and listen. I dealt with a personal identity, and that really is through our salvation. We have a personal relationship with God. And so that's when we get that settled, that settles a lot of things in our life. Everything else can go to crazy, but if you're right with Jesus, that really helps things. And then we have biblically, we have a public identity, and that occurs through baptism. And so we talked about different views towards baptism, different practices, different places. We talked about some funny stories. Of course, if somebody they didn't hear the sermon. I talked about to my 3-year-old grandson pouring water over his 6-year-old sister at the pool, and said that he was baptizing her again.
I love that.
So lots of different things, but really baptism is our public profession of our faith. And so we identify, I am on team Jesus. That really should mean something to us. When we identify with Jesus, that means some things. And then we have a partnered kind of identity. We do it personally, we have a public one, and then we have a partner one. That's through communion. We do that through communion, representing, thinking about Christ's resurrection, his life and his death, his resurrection, all three. His blood was shed, his body was broken for us. And then we do that. Of course, we symbolize that through the baptism when we do that, through the baptism by immersion. But we do this together. It's not an individual thing. And so every follower of Jesus really needs to be on a team of people, a church family that is moving forward. And so we need to get our identity a lot around the church. Church is not optional. Our relationship with others is not optional. It really is part of who we are as a follower of Jesus. So it was good. I enjoyed sharing the message and got good feedback on it. And so hopefully it was helpful. If you didn't watch it, encourage people to go back and listen to
Always
that.
go back on YouTube and check those out. That's something that everyone needs to know. Also, those will be starting in the next few weeks here. Those will be on our Facebook page. So a little shout out there to Emily, who's going to be helping us with social media. So you'll be able to see those on Facebook as well, if that is your preferred platform. So Pastor Will, what's coming up in the life of the church that folks need to know about?
Well, you just hit that Emily's going to help us, that we're going to be more and more public. We're looking at some things you and I have been talking about, and Jolene and others talking about. Sandy and I actually doing a podcast, and may even do that on a YouTube channel. We'll figure out how that actually plays itself out, but really excited about that because we'd love to speak to the broader community, this south part of the Pinellas County, and people can listen in from afar as well. But just talk about a few minutes every several times a week about just some life kinds of things. How do you live out your faith? And it really won't be designed just for the church. It'll just be good biblical counsel. The Bible tells us itself that it's profitable for all manner of things. It's not just profitable for the church, but a lot of our country. Think about this coming week. We've got July 4th coming up. You ask about that, and so we think about the foundation of our country was built on Judeo-Christian principles, teachings, and actually the commandments, right? So if not, everyone just does right in their own eyes. And so the founding of our country, and of course we think about that, we think about that freedom actually cost. And I'm not sure what you're going to do, each of you are going to do as you're listening today, going to do for the 4th of July, but certainly you want to give thanks to the Lord that he had you here, and then ask the Lord how can you serve him and use the freedom that others have fought to give you. And the freedom is not so you can have individual rights. The freedom is so that we can worship God in spirit and in truth, and we can share that message with other people. And so we have the opportunity to do that, and we do that through a church family. So freedom costs. People paid the cost to bring the gospel to us, whether it's in missionaries or whether it was in facilities or whether it was someone just sharing personally. All those things are involved. And we too want to be faithful in our day to pass on the gospel. So that's kind of upcoming. We're going to continue to move forward in our church. And I would just encourage people, come grow with us, grow spiritually with us, come grow numerically with us, come grow in our capacity to do missions together, come grow with us. And we're all works in progress, and none of us have arrived, but we all need each other. And bring all your imperfections, and you'll come into more imperfection in terms of a church. We'll all do this together to advance God's kingdom. And so that's kind of
So,
that's
that's a great
several
one.
things coming up. And then we got this
Awesome.
series.
Yeah.
So what's our series? What am I going to be preaching on, Matt? Do you know?
The law of love. So we're going to be going through the 10 Commandments, which is going to be a lot of fun, but with I think a different spin on it than maybe most people expect. I think a lot of folks think 10 Commandments is like, oh, there's going to be a list of all the things I have to do to be a good Christian. I think that's a little bit different than how you're going to be talking about it. So why don't you give a little bit of a preview of like what the angle you're going to be taking on is for this series?
Right. Well, I'm going to try to do this in 6 weeks. I'm going to do a setup week this week, and certainly got July 4th. It's this our country with 250th year, and I'll be setting up the series, but it'll be kind of the intro sermon. But then I'm going to try to do the 10 Commandments in about 5 additional weeks, and so I'll try to take a couple a week. And but the angle of taking it is this is God's instruction to us, not because He didn't have anything else to do. This is we're going to subtitle this a journey through God's heart.
Yeah.
He really wants us to rightly relate to Him and rightly relate to people. And when we do that, I want to give everything away. But when we do that, then we love people well. And when they do that back towards us, they love us well. So we're actually the winners with the 10 Commandments. It's not just a set of rules, because again, God didn't have something else to do. And He made us and created us, and we're going to look at it through the eyes of love. And this is certainly consistent with a great commandment to love God and love people. It's consistent with a great commission to make disciples of all the peoples of the world. Those are loving things. And so we're going to try to tie that together. We'll tie the Old Testament, New Testament together. I think that'll be kind of fun as well. But really from the angle that this is some loving things for us to do. Because if not, our tendency is just kind of do what we want to do. And we do better when we follow the instructions God gives us, because that works out better.
Awesome. That's a great way to tee it up. Well, what's a way that folks can be praying for the church this week, Pastor Will?
Well, I've had the last couple of weeks had a little handout. It's just on a little sheet, Matt, and asking every person to figure out where you're going to serve it. Once you figured out who you are and whose you are,
yeah,
then you've got to be thinking about, how can I serve the mission that God has given me? What is my mission? To advance His kingdom, His ways, His love with people. And then how do I serve the church and serve through the church to the community? And so we want every person. I'll go ahead and say it here, but I mean, the studies are so very clear. When you get involved in serving, and when you get involved in connecting with a small group of some sort in Life of Church, the chances of you sticking for 5 years goes astronomical. It's in the upper 80%. And if you do not do that, what the actual studies will show, it's down to about 14%. And so you have to find a way. If you want to get more out of it, you need to put more in. That works in a marriage, it works in parenting, it works in your work, and it works in the church family. You say, well, I'm a little hesitant. Well, you can come to Jolene, you can come to me, you can come to Sandy and say, hey, look, let me try some things. What can I do? And we'll try to get you matched up. But we want every person to be givers. I mean, we think about the crazy social stuff that's going on in terms of socialism. And I'm not trying to chase a political thing, but we don't want to just be takers in the church. We all want to be givers. And that's part of the heart attitudes. It's part of the Bible. And so I would just ask people to be praying about, where should I do this? We've got to ramp up some of our ministries and get some things even stronger, get more people involved in teams, even before we get new facilities to help us do this, because it really begins with us.
Yeah, no, that's such a great word. Such a great word. And I think that's a great encouragement for folks that just take a small next step. It doesn't have to be all in all at once. It can be, crawl, walk, run, right? I think that's one of my favorite phrases, just like crawl, walk, run. Start with that baby step that is your next step of faith, and then let God grow your faith to go on to the next thing. So such a good encouragement and reminder, Pastor Will. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for the great insight. Excited for the new series, and excited to have you all with us on the Island Church Weekly podcast. We'll see you back here next week.